Figure it out like always.
We getting there. Please don't fall. Hey everybody. I hope y'all see us. Waiting for everybody to come on in. Make sure y'all tell people come on in. Come into the room. Come to Let's Talk. Join in. We're excited for our first live podcast. But we getting there. We getting there.
Yeah.
We there. All right.
Denise
Hello,
said, what
hello.
happened to the live at 1:30?
We late, y'all. We late. There's sometimes technical difficulties, but we are here.
We are here now.
We made it. Welcome. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, so welcome to our very first podcast, and thank you everybody for joining us. My name is Rochelle Wilcox. I am the co-founder and CEO of For Providers by Providers, and I am your co-host and producer of. Look, y'all get to be a producer. um, of our very first podcast and many more to come of Let's Talk from For Providers by Providers. And welcome my other co-hosts.
Hi, everybody. Well, I'm Christy Givens. I'm co-founder also with For Providers by Providers, and I am the CFO. And I'm also co-host of this podcast and my first time being a producer too.
We have one other person here with us.
Hi, I'm Marcia Gaspar, Program and Operations Manager for Four Providers, Five Providers. Welcome. I'm also the producer of this podcast, writer, scripter, all of those things. So you'll see me when you see these ladies as well. So, ladies, we are here today to talk about our very first podcast and Four Providers by Providers. So, why? Why is Four Providers by Providers in existence and doing such great work?
So why For Providers by Providers? One, what Christy and I didn't do is really introduce ourselves and why we are here and what we do. So we said our names, but what we didn't do is say the great work that we do. So Christy and I've been in early care and education for over 25 years, but I've been a center owner for 18 years. I own Wilcox Academy of Early Learning. We have 3 early learning centers in the greater New Orleans area. We had 4. We just closed our 4th location, but we have our another location that's coming in 2025. It is going to be a beautiful location. I'm super excited about our new location that's coming in Central City, which is where I grew up in Central City. So I look at it as a way to give back to the community that raised me. It is going to be this great 10,000 square feet building that is going to serve a great underserved community. So I'm super excited about that. But back to the fact that we again serve over the years that I've been in business. I've served over 2,500 children. We currently have 38 staff, still hiring. We've just started a partnership with Southern University at New Orleans. That is where we're hosting this podcast right now. Christy and I have been friends for about 12 years now. And we, most people don't think that providers are friends, but Black businesses have to support each other, and we found that out very quickly, and just started calling on each other and really depending on each other. And I think whether we realize it or not is that for providers by providers started with probably one of our midnight calls or early morning calls, and just blossom from there. And that is just a little bit about how For Providers by Providers started organically, but just with her and I. And then in the midst of COVID, when we were just trying to figure it out, like, what is happening? What are we doing? We got together with several other providers. We would just kind of talk and figure out, hey, what are you doing? How are you handling this? What's going on with your centers? What are you talking to your parents about? Because what people don't realize is that a lot of center directors just sent out a letter to their providers to say, hey, we're going to be closed for a week, or we're going to be closed for 2 weeks. And that week or that 2 weeks turned out into 4 or 5 months. Or some center directors chose not to close at all, but they're still trying to figure out how they were going to do that, what were best practices, and things were changing every week or every day. And so we got together and really put out what recommendations would be. And we were talking to the CCR&R, and we were talking to the state, and we were really getting together and to put out those best practices and best and those recommendations. And we just thought, you know what, this is really good. And that call that we would have, that we call Let's Talk Advocacy, that we'll talk about later more, really helped change a lot of the systems that that we saw come out in what the state called Start Smart or Start Strong. I don't remember. It's been several years now. But what we thought, we was like, we have to codify this. We have to really make this something special because we're stronger together. So the why in Let's Talk and into For Providers by Providers is that we know that we have allies out there. There's other agencies that's out there, but there is nothing like being able to tell the story that on your own, and do it for yourself, right? We appreciate all the people that support us. We appreciate those grass top agencies that are out there every day that's going to advocate for us. But we understood that we saw the needle move when we start doing it for ourselves. We say every day or all the time on our calls, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. And that is the reason why For Providers by Providers exists, is because we really start to see the needle move when we start to have a seat at the table.
Okay, just to share a little bit about myself, like Rochelle said, we've been friends over 12, 13 years. We have talked to each other. We have cried together. We stop each other from going out of business together because like I can't do this anymore. Yep. But I've been in early childhood. This year will be my 25th year anniversary, July the 10th. So I'm excited about that. But I know my struggles, in childcare. When I first tried to open up my childcare center, there was nobody to go to. I mean, I called childcare centers. I went to childcare centers. There was no one to go to. and I made so many mistakes. I if it wasn't for the Lord, friends and family, my center probably was going to close down because I didn't have the financial, the business acumen and those things in place to stay in business. But like Rochelle said, always thinking about partners. So I've always, from the beginning, when I first started, to build those relationships out in the community, building it with people to help support me to make it strong. So when, we used to sit at the table and just talk about it, mostly me and Rochelle and then other centers, because a lot of things was going on and we didn't know what was going to happen. So, we just say, hey, let's start something. We have been through all of these things. I think we have a grasp on it. We are very passionate women. We don't want ourselves just to succeed. We want everybody in early childhood to succeed. So we decided, let's start For Providers by Providers, because we know, like Rochelle said earlier, we know there's a lot of people out there, shout out Hamilton and everybody else, but we wouldn't be where we at if it wasn't for those people.
Correct.
But the thing is that nobody knows early childhood like we do. You can have all the research, you can have all the knowledge, all the education, because me and Rochelle is very educated about early childhood. But the most knowledge and experience I got was from hands-on. And that's the stories and that's the things that I wanted to share with other people, because I didn't want people to have to make all the mistakes that I had made early. And I felt like nobody shouldn't have to go through that. So that's how we started For Providers by Providers. First starting like the call, just on a Let's Talk advocacy call, just talking to everybody and everybody just hearing and seeing that we share the same stories. Yeah. We have the same issues. Nobody issue. If maybe you're 5 years, I did that 5 years ago. I did everything that you have done, I have done. Now let's make sure you don't do these things. And this is why this was started. So not only 25 years, I have 3 childcare centers. I have 2 childcare centers that's NAEYC accredited. We have to renew our NAEYC accreditation this year, so we're going for all 3 childcare centers to be NAEYC accredited, and we're very excited about that. And we always want, anybody know they could call me on the phone, whatever knowledge I have with it, anything I can share, I'll come to your center, I'll sit down with you. But everybody know me that the first thing Christy want to do is do that budget with you. That's the first thing. Hey, let's talk about that budget, because that budget and having those financial things in place help you to be successful. So the vision that we have and the mission that we have for these children that we love and we so passionate about, but we have to make sure those business acumen is in place. And we'll talk about that further. But that's why we started For Providers by Providers.
So For Providers by Providers is Black led, provider led nonprofit that builds the capacity of type 3 early learning centers in the state of Louisiana around public policy, business acumen, high quality, and we also do demonstration projects that, again, align with our mission and vision to make sure that not only our providers, our type 3 providers, are building wealth and success, and our children are better for it. The children in the state of Louisiana are thriving. So the next thing that we are going to talk about is just, again, we've gone over our why, and again, the why is nobody can advocate or tell our story or be there like we can. So, but the other pieces to that is, what have we done? What is the mission? What have we done over? And we are a young organization. We really, even though we started with those calls in the midst of COVID, we really didn't codify until late 2021. And over that time frame, we have really just went full steam ahead and gotten a lot of stuff done. So we'll talk a little bit about our our demonstration projects. So with our demonstration projects, we've had several, which is our peer-to-peer business cohort, our Let's Talk advocacy calls, and our AmeriCorps, which is our early childhood teacher corps. So our peer-to-peer business cohort, to Chrissy's point earlier, when you get into early care and education, nobody gets into early care and education and opens up an early learning center and says, you know what? I'm going to get into early care and education and I'm going to be a billionaire, right? That is not your first point when you think you're going to open up an early learning center. You're trying to serve your community. You say, you know what? I see a need in this community and I want to serve my community. That's the reason why you open up an early learning center. So for me, Chris is going to tell a story, but for me, I know, and if you know me, you probably know my story, or you probably heard it, but I'm just going to tell it. My mom was just like, you're going to be an OBGYN. And I was like, okay, sure, that's what I'm going to be. And then chemistry happened and all of those AP classes, bio, and now it was like, nah, that's not it. that ain't happening. And you know, as a kid, you really do follow, you listen to your parents and you want to make your parents proud, and you are really just focused on those things. And what saved me is that because we were poor and I had to do work study, that was part of my financial aid, and I had to work in the student lab, which was the early learning center at Nicholls State. And it was phenomenal because working in that student lab, even when I didn't go to class, because I'm going to just be honest, I ain't ashamed. What I learned at our conference, and we're going to talk about our conference, is that you should not, from Dr. Tammy Wilborn, told us not to be ashamed of our scars and our past. And I'm not ashamed because I didn't always go to class. And my son is watching. He said he's going to watch the podcast. And I'm telling you, you should go to class. I didn't always go to all of my classes, but I always showed up to my work study assignment because I loved being in the student lab. And that is when I knew that early learning was for me. And from that moment on, I didn't have the words for it. I changed my major at the time, and it was child psychology, because to me that sound better than at the time it was daycare. That sound better. Child psychology sound better than daycare. So and that was going to be my end to tell my mom that I wanted to work in daycare. And then I came home and I went to Delgado, and she was just like, no, you can't work in no daycare. You too smart for that. And and it was, again, a challenge to get my mom to understand that I really loved working with young children. And so from there, I went and started volunteering at Agenda for Children as a registration assistant, because Agenda for Children was on St. Charles, and that was my in into working in early care and education, getting trainings, because there is a difference between getting the book knowledge and really getting those specific trainings that you need to work in early care and education. And so I started to be a registration assistant with Agenda for Children, working with Judy Watts and working with Mama Olaila and Miss Kathleen and Lana Dumas and all of those ladies way back when. And then Miss Olga Jackson, who was working over there at that time, she was just like, you need to really maybe look at getting your CDA. And so I started doing that process, and then went and got my associate's degree at Delgado. But it also, and I'm saying all of this to tell a long story, but it takes people to believe in you, right? And so I started the CDA process, then got my associate's degree in early care and education, and then went into a family child care in my home. I lived in a lower ninth ward at that time. This was before Katrina. We lost our home in Katrina. And from there, we came back. We found the place that we were looking at, and started in 2006. That's how Wilcox Academy was started in. It was the 7th ward at that time. People call it Mid City or whatever they want to call it at this time. But started Wilcox Academy there in 2006. Started with 34 children. Found out very quickly that coming from a family home child care where I was the only employee with 6 children is very different than coming into a child care center base with employees, with overhead, with insurance, with going to the bank, with doing taxes and all of those things. That's a very different dynamic. Found out very quickly that I was not equipped, prepared, had business acumen, or all of the things that I needed to have. I didn't even have what we call is, do you have the right team? I didn't have a team. I didn't even know I needed a team, and all of those things. So I bumped my head a lot in the beginning. And so what peer-to-peer business coaching does, and this cohort does, is prevent you from making all the mistakes that Christy and I made in the beginning, whether you have been in business 1 year, whether you're trying to get into the business, whether you have been in the business 5 years, or maybe whether you've been in the business 20 years. There's a lot of things that you make those mistakes in becoming and being in early care and education. There's a lot of people out there that say, oh, I can help you, right? But they've never walked a mile, an inch, 5 miles, 10 miles in your shoes. You know, there's that old song, Walking to New Orleans. Well, we saying walking in there in early care and education. It's hard. It is hard. We have cried many, many tears in this industry. And so Christy and I's goal is to be able to share all of those things that we've learned through actual curriculum. We do actual trainings with the curriculum that we really we use, and actual coaching. We have 2 other coaches that come in and support you, and these are actual early care and education providers. Sonia Joseph with Claire's Little Lambs, and Monique Rouge with World Class Academy in Orleans Parish, and Carly Care Kids in Jefferson Parish. So it's not just like people that we are just pulling out of the air, but it's actual people who have the knowledge and the experience to support our providers. So it's a 6-month cohort. You get and we also have subject matter experts that come in on our Tuesday calls to give you financial trainings on how to build that financial wellness and expertise. Do you have a will? Do you have a succession plan? People like, a succession plan? I thought I was going to be doing this till I die. No, you do not need to be doing this till you die. What is your plan? Do you have a 401k? Do you have a retirement plan? What is your plan? What are you doing with this, with the fund? You should be making a profit. People thought, oh, I wasn't even paying myself. Been there, done that. That is not the plan forever. So you want to be able to make those next step and move those plans on. I know I talked a lot.
Okay, so that's good. But we both know each other's story. We really can tell each other's story.
Yeah.
So my story was, since young, I always was out of all my friends, the one that kind of take care of the kids, like bring them to the fairs, bring them out to make arrangements for everybody to be able to go to Disney World, make it happen, take people to Houston. So I always had this great passion for kids. So I had my kids pretty young, and I knew that, I don't know why, all my life I knew I wanted to open up a child care center. And mainly because when I was young and I had my kids and I was working and I was in school, I could not afford to bring my kids to childcare. I didn't have knowledge about early Head Start, any of these programs that probably existed like 40 some years ago, because my oldest child is 42. She's probably listening. Say, "Mom, I'm 41," but I don't know. I don't know her age. But so I was just like, nobody shouldn't have to do this. If it wasn't for family and friends, and I love all my family and friends, there was no way in the world I would be where I'm at today. My sister was a beautician. She worked from home, so all I had to do was leave my kids at home, walk out the door, go to school, go to work. And everybody don't have that option. And even though I did that, some of my children still struggle when they went to school.
Yeah.
Because they weren't prepared. They wasn't in an early childhood center. And one of my, by the time my middle daughter, she was born, I learned about Head Start. She went to Head Start, and I could tell a difference in school, throughout school, how she was, because she had that beginning. And I never, ever, ever wanted another child to feel like that. So I had kids, they were in private school, and I worked in the restaurant business, totally different and of everything. But that was the only business where I can make decent money, make good money, because I started as a cashier there and then came to be the general manager. So I was there for a long time, but my passion was always with this childcare center. And I worked there 13 and a half years. And, I just say one day, if I don't walk away from here, I'm never going to start my childcare center. So, by making more money, I was able to save money. I always had my credit straight very young. I was like one of those girls that just kind of was knowledgeable about, you got to pay your bills on time, you have to do this and that. And I was just driving down the neighborhood in the Bywater, and I saw this building. It had a for sale sign on it. And the gentleman who owned the building, he was outside. And I say, I want to buy that building. He say, you have money? I say, I don't know. And I don't know, how much does a building cost? I didn't have a real estate agent. I didn't have nothing. I did everything on my own. Me and him with a title company. He said, well, I could sell this building for you for $50,000. I said, well, I think I could get a loan. I could get approved. And from this day, I don't know how I found all these contacts. I don't know how I did it, but it happened. I don't know how I did it, but I guess I talk, I ask people and different things like that. And I purchased a building for $50,000. And even though that building was purchased for $50,000, back then, 25 years ago, I needed over $100,000 to get that building open. And, so when I have conversations with people, and I know people is passionate and they excited about it and all of this and that, and I be like, well, what money do you have? And it's not to discourage people. It's not because all these magical grants that you think is out there, they're not.
Right.
I even I'm just being realistic. I want you to meet it. But I don't know how I knew how to do all these things, but I used to know how to do a business plan, how to do a budget, because I did, when I was in school, at first I was supposed to be an accountant. So I did accounting for 2 years, and I love accounting, but I say I wanted to do something. I love children. I want to do something with children. So I changed my major from accounting, and my mom and my stepdad was so mad with me because they was like, you are made to be an accountant. And I changed my major to social work but expertise working with children. And I got me a bachelor's and master's from that. And I think that helped me to really know how to work with people, how to listen, how to empower people, how to network, how to do all the things that's a part of our pillars of for providers by providers. So I just had those skills was really good with me. And then I decided, I felt like, you know what, but I don't have enough of knowledge in early childhood. So I enrolled at UNO and got my master's degree in early childhood over there. Because I say, I want to be the best. I want to be a high quality center. I want to be able to always wanted to be able to be a mentor to other childcare centers. So, but at first, when I first was going through the process of opening my center, because now I got to get an architect, I got to get contractors, I had to get all of these people. And all I know that money I had got a loan and money I saved and money I had in the 401k, I know everything was gone and my center was not open. And I went home and I literally gave up. I like people talk about depression. I I found out what depression was because I was glued to the sofa. I couldn't move. And all I know, my son, I think that's why he gets away with a lot of stuff now from me. And the Lord must have talked to him. And I was just sitting on the sofa, and my son came and touched me. And he was like 12, 13 years old, and he didn't much know what was going on with me. And he touched me. And just this spirit came through me. And the only words my son told me was, Ma, you have to believe. And I got up off of that sofa and I just started walking and moving and problem solving. And within 6 months, my center was open.
Yep.
I mean, he saved me because I was in a deep depression. And I know how hard it is because early childhood is a very hard field.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want anybody to ever go through anything like that. And so when we was, like me and Rochelle's stories and our experience, this is why the pillars that we came up with, we believe in that people being educated. You got to know knowledge about early childhood. You have to understand it. You have to know what a curriculum is. You have to know how to work with teachers to educate them. So with that's why we do the professional development training with it. We have advocacy. Advocacy is very important. And young in early childhood, I knew that was important because I got out of my center and I was a part of, I was at the signing when the governor, Kathleen Blanco signed on the first thing. I was a part of that. I was a part of with United Way. And I just would go to meetings, because I would go to agenda and I would find out about all these things. So I learned early I had to advocate. In school, I learned about empowerment. And that's one of our pillars because it's building people to be able to stand on their own. And that's what we know in early childhood. We love all our other people that help us, but you got to empower yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you walk out of there, you going home or you in that center, you got to be empowered. You have to know how to make decisions. You have to learn how to come up with solutions. You're going to have to learn how to bring a team together to make it work for you so you can have a full capacity and you could do all these things. So empowerment was very important to me. And then one of our other pillars is wellness. Wellness is very important to me because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't go out and do the work. You have to be well. You got to be well mentally, physically. You got to take care of yourself. You got to take time out to go get your hair and nails done. You got to go walk and exercise. And so we promote that. And we're going to talk about that when Rochelle talk about our conference and just the professional development in it. I mean, I went to school, every agency that did something, I made sure I was a part of it. I had knowledge. And that's one thing where I know I have one of the best skill set is in how to run a high quality center and how to retain staff because I educated me and Rochelle both. We educated ourselves in this so much. And that's why we want to share all that with other people because we know in early childhood, it's a turnover rate. And that's why me and Rochelle and everything we're doing, we being very problems like solution solvers. Like we came up, Rochelle going to talk about later with our AmeriCorps program, and is here to help the workforce and also to help providers. And right now we have 8 whole sites that we're working in, and we're wanting to grow it and expand it throughout the state of Louisiana. So we're proud of that program. And then our business acumen. Like remember, I was there accounting, and my stepfather was accountant. So we sat down, we always have conversations. So he always told me about profits and loss and financial statements and budgets and all of this. And people who come to me, that's the first thing I'm going to say. We can't move no further until we have these things in place. We got to have a business plan. We have to have all that. So that's why that's an important pillar for us in networking. Me and Rochelle, we do so much of networking that now our business has grown. Like Rochelle have 3, about to open 4. I have 3. So we're like in our centers, but kind of on the outside. And so we're a part of so many organizations that we partner with because we know we have to be out to network to be able to support our providers, to support our child care center, and support our community. So that's why for providers by providers, pillars wasn't just scraps from like, oh, I like that word, I like that word. It was a part of us where we had to do our life and struggle of early childhood. And that's why those pillars are so important to us.
So yeah, so absolutely, and that is one of the other things is like Christy said. So the one of the pillars is collaboration. So getting together so we can collaborate and because one thing that people think is that, and what we know is that as an early care and education or an early learning center provider is that you're just used to working in silo. You just in your center trying to keep your doors open, just trying to manage because you're wearing multiple hats. You are the social worker, you are the cook, you are the janitor, you are the accountant, you are the all of the things. You are the advocate. You are. But what we do know that you are stronger together. You have to get out there, knock on a door, see what other people are doing so that way you can make yourself better. So we want to be able to be collaborative partners in this so that way, especially, you know, there's a change in administration. There are things that are going on. We have to collaborate with each other so that way we can elevate each other. So we want to make sure that we are always constantly elevating. And that is where peer-to-peer business coaching comes in. We want to make sure that we're building capacity. So the more you can we build your capacity. You can build your capacity, build the capacity of your staff. You can have a leadership team so that way you can not be inside your building. You can be outside your building working on your business, right? And so that is what we want with the peer-to-peer business cohort. So be on the lookout if you are a member, you need to become a member of For Providers by Providers. At the end of this podcast, when you are seeing it, there'll be a link to become a member of For Providers by Providers, and you'll know when the next peer-to-peer business cohort is. One of our goals is we are For Providers by Providers Louisiana. We have membership throughout the state of Louisiana. However, right now we are heavily Southeast Louisiana, but we are coming to a parish near you. So make sure throughout 2024, we are going to several different parishes, and we will have some like a hub in parishes throughout Louisiana. So you'll have somebody that you can say, hey, that is For Providers by Providers person that I can depend on. And we'll have that in our peer-to-peer cohort. So the next thing that we'll talk about, and we've said, is that we have our Let's Talk Advocacy meetings. Now we have those three every Thursday except the first Thursday of the month. And the reason why we don't have the first Thursday of the month is because LDOE has their meeting on the first Thursday of the month, except in January. They didn't have it in January. I don't know why they didn't. But we have it. We have our calls 3 weeks out of the month, except the first week because LDOE has their meeting. And on those calls, we bring you news from throughout the state of Louisiana about what's going on in early care and education from the federal, the state, and the local level. What you need to know, what's going on, and those are the calls that are so impactful. What's going on in your center? What is going, especially when session happens, when legislative session happens, we make sure that you need to know what bills are being passed. If you need to take action, what are talking points that you need to know? Do you need to go to a BESI meeting? What's going on the advisory council? When those meetings are happening, what's going on at your local level? When the millage was happening in Louisiana, because we were really vital to our local millage that passed in New Orleans, and it was something that it was just so powerful to see all of these providers galvanize and really see that your voice matters. And you can make a difference. And just because New Orleans has this millage that is $21 million per year for the next 20 years. We are the blueprint, but there are 13 other parishes that are trying to do a millage in the state of Louisiana. And so the fact is again, we are the blueprint, but we want to support every other parish that is interested in getting that done. So how can we support you? Let us know what you want, or how we can support you in getting your providers in your neck of the woods, in your parish, to galvanize. What do you need? That's going to be a question. Remember that. What do you need us to support you in your parish? How do you want to see For Providers by Providers show up for you? That is what our goal is. Our goal is to be there for you in your parish, in your center. We're going to be going on tour. You need to let us know what center we need to go to, so we can again be there for you in a very intentional, impactful way. But our Let's Talk advocacy calls is there, and we send out surveys. We want to know what you need, and those Let's Talk advocacy calls are built by you. What the information that comes into us, the information that we get off, because we have meetings with LDOE specifically. What we do on those, when we have those meetings with LDOE, we say our provider said this is what's going on in their center. Our provider said, hey, this is what we heard directly from them. This is what they need. And they're just like, oh, and providers are just getting the support that they need. So if we don't hear from you, silence means approval. We need you to say, this is what we need. This, and especially about this podcast, we asked on our provider call, what do you want this podcast to be? Who do you want to hear from? Well, of course, the first podcast is going to be us, right? We need you to tell, we need to say who we are, what is it going to be like, what to expect, and then the provider said, hey, we want people about insurance. We want more business people. So yes, we are going to have people to come on and talk to us about that. But we need to know what you want, right? We're going to have special guests. We're going to have guests beam in or Zoom in, like, I might be dating myself, like, beam in like Scotty or whatever, but we'll have people come in and based on what your feedback is and talk to us about whatever you're interested in, financial, wellness. It'll be on our pillars, like Christy said. We'll have some of our partners come in, maybe from you want your school board to come in and talk about it. Maybe we can have Agenda for Children, LPIC. We can have whomever, but you need to talk to us. Silence means approval. Maybe we can have LDOE come in. Whoever you want to talk, and send in your questions. We want to hear from you, but that's what Let's Talk advocacy is. If you say nothing, then that means you're okay with what it is. We need to have surround sound. We would say, okay, if you're saying it in this parish, that parish needs to be saying. If we need the tuition wages to the market rate survey, everybody should be filling up the market rate survey. What is the cost of your tuition in your parish? That needs to be the same thing that we're saying in your next door neighbor. This is not a competition. There is no competition. We want everybody to win. We have to say that, that was an executive order from our current president that says that early care and education is a priority for him. So the businesses, I was at a SBA, thank you. I was at SBA yesterday, and they are making that a priority. With lending to childcare centers, they're making that a priority because that came from the top, from our current president, that he wants that as a lending tool, or making sure that they're providing more lending tools to childcare centers. We need to make sure that we are, again, making sure that that's a round sound, right? What are you saying? What do we need to have here? And since I was there yesterday, we're going to have them come to our conference. We're going to have them speak. What do you need from us? So I'm just saying that we have to make sure that we are making sure our voice is heard. If you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. So that is what our Let's Talk Advocacy call is about. Let us know what your pain point is. Let us know what we need to be saying to LDOE, what the things that you need to be mentioned in the advisory council. What are those things that we need to be mentioning to LDOE? What are those things that we might need to take to the federal lobbyists or whomever we might need to take it? We are your advocate. We are those people, and you. Because when we go to LDOE, we need 50 people to come with us.
That's right.
So we need
Bessie
all of
board
them.
meetings,
Yes, the
everything.
Bessie meetings, absolutely. So we need y'all. We in this together. So the next thing we're gonna talk about is our AmeriCorps. So what Christy and I are really good at is we see there's a gap and we try to fill it. Like, the fact is that we sit, to Christy's point earlier, we sit on a lot of boards. Like, I was the first board member, the first provider to sit on Agenda for Children, which is CCR&R here board. We sit on a lot of boards. We sit in the steering committee, and that is where you should be. It should not just be us.
Right.
You should be, as a provider in your parish, you should be sitting on those decision-making boards. You should go make yourself known. It does not just need to be just one or two people. Everybody, you should be making yourself, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Go make yourself known to those people, your council member, your parish president, your mayor, all of those things. They see me coming. Y'all see me coming. There she go again. Yes, here I am. Here I am. So go make yourself known. So what we do is just like, okay, there's a workforce solve. There's a workforce issue. What we know is that the fact is how do we get more people into early care and education? How do we get them their CDA? If the issue right now, the only way that you can get funding the only way you can get a CDA with funding is that you already have to be working in early care and education, right? So what we were talking about, one of them times we were probably on the phone at maybe 3-4 o'clock in the morning or 5 in the morning or whatever. And it was just like, we could probably pair AmeriCorps dollars with maybe philanthropy and to get people into the building, career changers, maybe high school students, parents, and retirees, people who are not non-traditional people who are not currently working in early care and education. And we just start thinking about how we could do this. And we talked to some of our partners, and they're just like, what, that's a good idea. And they put it to pen and paper. We went to Zants, and they had with our early childhood initiative, and we went to do the pitch, and we won. I don't know what year that was. At Harvard University. I can't remember. Last year, 2023. Okay.
Oh, yeah. It was
great.
2024.
Yes, great. 2023, we won. And we also we went to AmeriCorps. We talked to them. We got a planning grant. And we also did the planning grant and did the implementation in 2023 as well.
Yeah.
And we have we started with 11. We have 8 core members amongst 9 sites in Orleans Parish. And it's been going really well. Like, there's challenges with anything. But next year we're going to 38 members across the state. So we are not just going to be working in Orleans Parish, because our members, you guys, has said, we need you to come to other parishes.
right.
And so we will have 38 AmeriCorps members that'll be going to other sites. So we're other sites throughout the state. And these core members are going into the early learning centers, working with exemplar teachers and supporting them in math, literacy, language, and really making sure that this is helping with recruitment, retention. They are supporting by way of teaching strategies, goals. They are also they are part-time core members. So they're not in the centers all day, but they are really supporting in the way that, we see that the kids are benefiting. The teachers are benefiting, and we're seeing retention. So, and they want to say, we just did a survey that 90% of our core members are saying that they want to stay in early care and education. They get a scholarship after they finish. They'll have their CDA. They'll be qualified to be a lead teacher, and they'll be able to be paid more. Our host sites are wanting to keep them after they finish their core membership, their core service. So it's been a phenomenal program. And we're only in month 4.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot. But we are excited about the growth that we have had over this year and a half, 2 years,
Yeah,
that
2 years.
For Providers by Providers have been doing working. And we just want to say thank you to our partners.
Yes.
And Christy is going to say thank you to our partners.
Rochelle just said it, but we, like I said, but I did say earlier, we really appreciate everybody. And if it wasn't for all our partners, and I don't want to name none, because if I do, I miss somebody, and I don't want to miss anybody. But we have a total of about 20 to 25 partners, and we are excited. And to have that many partners, and we only been in this for like 2 years, that is amazing.
Yeah.
And we're building relationship and collaborating with more partners every day. So, on other podcasts, we're going to have the partners logos on there, so you can see who they are, but just to let you know what the podcast is going to look like. We're going to have once a month podcast. We'll keep you informed with that. Like Rochelle said earlier, we're going to take it on a roll, and we're going to go into different parts of Louisiana. We're going to visit centers, and we're going to go live at their centers and their space and learn.
We live. We're going to go live.
We're going to go live. I mean, our next podcast, we want to do it at
during Go Far
Weekend,
which will start February 26th, and it will be, actually, it'll be here. We're going to do 2 February 26th.
Yeah.
So one, the February 26th will be here, and it's going to, because it's the Go Far Week starts in New Orleans, and then because Go Far is another one of our partnerships, Go Far Louisiana. And so it'll start here in New Orleans, and then it's going to go to Shreveport, Lafayette, Baton Rouge. So it's going to go all throughout the state. So we're super excited about that. But we be on the lookout for more information. But we also want you to save the date for our conference, which will be August 9th and 10th. It's also going to be here on the campus of Southern University at the Social Work Building. And we are, again, that is focus on wellness and growth and wellness, because again, we know working in early care and education, we still have to make sure that we are focused on our mental health and wellness, but also financial wellness, and continue to build our capacity around what we are doing, professional development, business acumen, all around growth and wellness.
And when we talk about growth and wellness with this conference, it's not just for directors and owners. It's for our teachers and our parents. We really, really want to get the parents out to come to the conference, because there's so much of wealth and so much of knowledge that could support them with their financials, with their professional development, and understanding why we do what we do and what part that they need to do. So we excited. We had parents come last year. I mean, nobody topped our conference.
Oh yeah,
We
it was
had
great.
fun. We have fun, but we be serious. We had
Yes.
second line. We had dancing. We had massages. We had facials. I mean, we had everything, and we had the food was amazing. We had great food. I mean, our displays and all our designs, it was so beautiful. People were so impressed. And then we came comfortable. We wore tights, we wore workout clothes because we had exercising, and people said there was nothing they ever seen like this before. So we excited, and we're gonna bring it to another level. I mean, I don't know how we're gonna beat that level,
but we will.
But we will. So we're working on that. But we want you to,
and you'll be coming off of celebrating 25 years.
And I'll just be finishing my thing celebrating 25 years. That I'm gonna invite a lot of people to come out to my big celebration too. But we want you all to, if you haven't made your schedule for the summer, make sure those days you have closed. The 9th is a Friday, and the 10th you already closed, to really get your staff there and register early. So we're going to be sending it out real soon, because we had to close registration last time because we had an overflow of 350 people. But we want people to start registering early. The conference is very reasonable in price with all the things you get. But because we have great funders that help support us with our conference, so we're expecting our funders to do the same this year too. So to help us, we could keep the cost at a reasonable cost that you could bring yourself, you can bring your teachers, and also with this one thing me and Rochelle did, we gave scholarships for our parents to get our parents involved. And a new thing we're going to do, we're going to have childcare. This year we're going to have childcare. We understood last year that was a problem for people to get here, so we're going to have childcare. So you got to register early if you want childcare, because it's going to be limited seats. So please save those dates. The 9th and the 10th is going to be the best conference of 2024.
Well, the time has arrived. This is the end of our first podcast. You gonna leave me hanging? We did it. We did it. I am excited. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, we appreciate you joining Let's Talk with 4P by P, and we'll see you next time.
Amazing job, ladies. All of that information is also inside the comments on all of our pages. You'll be able to see the other pages as well, such as Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, our website. The conference save the date is already on there for you all, and also where you can fill out information to contact us with all of those things that they requested, such as topics. If you want us to come to your center, host the podcast. So we can't wait to see you. Most importantly, we can't wait to hear your feedback.